Hi, welcome back. And I'm going to start working on one of the projects that you see me frequently doing around the farm, and that is finding property pins. You may recognize this spot as one where we verified that this pin is true by finding another pin that's down on the deed that's down the road through the woods. So we found that one, we verified that we now know that this one's high confidence, that it's accurate, even though it doesn't have the surveyor's cap on it. You're probably wondering, how come I'm constantly looking for property pins? Am I losing them all the time? I've actually never lost a property pin, but on these properties, the way these are divided up in Tennessee is they're not perfect rectangles or perfect squares. And I actually counted up off the deed how many different survey points there are, and there are 137. And the smallest one or shortest one is 7 feet 0.34, and the longest one is 2,766 feet. Today, the one we're going to be looking for is 779.39 feet that away. So the challenge with this one is, and I did some rough marking to kind of get me going in the general direction, but it goes up over a big hill and over another big hill to get to our 779 feet. So that's quite challenging to do a straight line 779 feet long, hills, trees, but in the wintertime, at least with all the leaves down, we can see a lot farther. So I think this will work better doing it in the winter. And I've got a little trick to help. My little trick to go along these flags is actually way up in the air. And so what I did is I took a painter's pole and I hung a reflective jacket, and a little farther up, some flagging. So I'm hoping I can see this much farther through the woods than just a plain pole with flags. The jacket will stand out more, and hopefully then I can see much farther through the woods. From my previous videos, I showed about reading a deed and how accurate a compass reading needs to be, that if you're just 1 degree off over 350 feet or so, you could be 7 feet off left or right. So that is a challenge. So I've got my Suunto Compass that's plus or minus only half a degree in error, so that should be good. But the other thing that we learned doing searching for pins is your tape measure is actually more accurate. So if you can measure the distance, you will get the distance plus or minus probably within a foot or two. Then if you're off some degrees, it's much easier to find the pin. So the first thing we're going to do is get our general compass direction verified, and then we'll measure 779 feet and mark that, and then do our best to hone it in with really good compass readings. So let's start measuring. So to help me do the measuring and do our rough compass headings, I've got the Suunto Compass. I'll put in the description, Amazon links to that. Plus or minus only half a degree of error, so it's very accurate. And I'm using the Milwaukee 330-foot measuring tape. It's only 330. I have seen some 400-foot tapes that looked really cheesy, so I decided I'd go with Milwaukee. It's 330 feet long. I'm going to attach it to this post. We'll take a compass heading to verify my semi-accurate marks, and then we'll start measuring out. And what I'll do is I'll use these temporary stakes to mark along the way, so that, we'll measure, let's say, to 300 feet, then we'll do another 300 feet. That gets us to 600. Then we only have 179 feet to go, and we'll mark that 179 feet, and we should be at 179 feet, plus or minus maybe a foot or two. So then we got to start working on our compass accuracy, and then we'll just keep working the line to try and get it as accurate as possible. So we'll just attach it to the post and start measuring. All right, if you zoom in, you can just make out the yellow jacket through there. So once we confirm both ends, we'll have to trim some trees to make this more visible, but our tape is running right through here, and 330 feet is just over this hill. So we're gonna go just over this hill. And we'll tighten up the tape, and we'll put in our flag at 330 feet. So it's a little ways to go, but we made it. So we'll pull the tape tight, and we'll mark it at 330 feet. All right. Okay, so you can actually just barely make out the yellow jacket through there. I was able to get a good compass reading. Now, getting the tape tight, because there's so many little branches and stuff, is next to impossible. So we won't even try to do that. But I can line up between the jacket, my last compass heading, and we're gonna call this, to make the math easy, here's 330 feet. There isn't much give in the tape, so it's pretty tight. So we'll call this first one right here our first 330 foot marker. Ground is a bit frozen. Oh boy. So I can't drive it too deep. So 330 feet, I will mark it with my marker. I'll go get the end, and then we'll do it again. Okay, so I've measured our second 330 foot long length, and I've been checking with the compass. And I'll tell you, I want to trust my compass because I know I can tell north and south better than me. But boy, it seems a bit off, because we still have another, let's see, this is 660, so we got another 120 feet to go roughly, and we're almost out of woods. So I'm sure my pin is not in the middle of the farmer's field, but you know, we're getting close here. So just need to double check here, and you know, because it's a lot harder to run a straight tape through all these trees, and there's some give to it, but you know, we'll call this about 330. So I'll write it with the marker, and then we'll move the tape again, and we got 120 feet to go roughly, and maybe we'll get lucky and find a pin plus or minus 20 feet in either direction. So this will be 660 here. So time to roll up the tape, move it again, and hopefully we can finish at least the measurements before dark. All right, well, here's where things get complicated. Found a post marked, but this might have been from when they were doing logging, like putting a post, say don't go past here if you're getting too close to the property line. Because, you know, we were at 660 feet, the last marker, and this marker right here is 90 feet. And we need to go approximately 120, or basically 119, right? So 660 and we got to get to 780 basically. So we need another 120 feet to go from the 660 all the way down to 780. And we're only at 90 feet right here. So there's no way that, if anything, the tape would be short, right? You know, winding through trees and everything. So I would be farther that way. So unfortunately, we're somewhere into the woods. Now, what I can tell from this post, and it's not super obvious from where you're looking, but there's actually tire ruts on this side of the post heading this way, which leads me to believe the logging trail came through here, which of course would be on my property, side of the property line. So still makes sense. We're still all adding up that our pin should be farther this way and towards the farmer's field. So again, we had to go 779 feet point and something. I don't remember right now off the top of my head. So that would be approximately 780 feet, we'll call it. And that measurement is right here. So I'll put a marker in behind this tree, or probably on this tree right here, and then we'll have to come back another day after the snow's gone with the metal detector and start trying to find a pin approximately here. So I think we're basically done for today. It's 4:30, the sun's going down, it's starting to get colder. So I'll put a marker here at 780, and when the snow melts, we'll come back with the metal detector and hopefully find our pin. Have a great day. Thanks for watching.